I want to start with, it's kind of a downer here, well, obviously with the Cowboys going on right now, but came through the toughest week of the year with the loss of Marcus Paul. And I know you were at Syracuse when Marcus Paul started his college career. What memories do you have of Marcus at Syracuse?
Well, I can tell you this. I recruited him basically because I was coaching the secondary, and he, coming out of Florida, we felt that he was going to be a good player. We unfortunately, we kind of lied to him a little bit and gave him an opportunity that he was going to play quarterback. He lasted one day in training camp and ended up back over on the defensive side. So I coached him. Fine young man. You talk about a guy that really cared about people and just a wonderful human being. And we had him for just a cup of coffee with the Cowboys. He went with Wanstead and Tony Wise up at Chicago, and it was kind of a part-time starter. But when he came down with us, we only had him for a couple of weeks. And I just enjoyed being around him. And, of course, being a strength coach in the league, I saw him quite a bit. And he will be missed. I think he's one of those guys that at the end of the deal, you're just going to say he's a great young man.
Well, bring us up to speed on what Coach Campo is doing these days. What have you been up to?
Well, of course, I'm doing a little traveling. And, the last couple of years, I was a consultant out at University of Southern California. This is the first year that I haven't done that. And, I'm doing some radio stuff here in Jacksonville with the flagship station, 92.5 FM. And I'm on just segments of the primetime show. And then I'm on one of the post-game shows. And I'm doing a podcast with Joe Cowart, the host of that show. So that's keeping my, finger in the football a little bit. But I do miss, being on the field. Once you've done it, it's hard to get away from it.
So how much do you miss football?
I miss it. I think once 46 years is a long time to be, doing something. And I think anybody that retires from any business, if they enjoyed it, there's a little bit of a change there. I like being around it. I don't know that I want the day-to-day 14, 15 hours a day work. But at the same time, I enjoy watching guys see them improve, that type of thing. One of the advantages I had, when we were working together in Dallas a little bit, was that I was the only media guy that could go to practice, being the ex-head coach there. So I got a chance to actually be on the field a little bit and watch practice and those kind of things. I miss that as well.
How close are you keeping tabs on what's going on with the Cowboys this season?
Well, of course, I watch the games. I've got Game Pass, that I can see the replay of the games, and I've been watching it a little bit. And George Edwards, that was on my staff, is a senior assistant there, so we visit every once in a while. It's been a rough season, not only from an injury standpoint, but just the COVID situation and not having any off season and a brand new coaching staff. That's a very difficult thing to do, and I think it's showing up a little bit.
All right, you being an old secondary coach, what are your impressions of the rookie, the second-round pick out of Alabama, Trayvon Diggs?
I think he's a good player. I mean, I think as a rookie, you can have some higher expectations of a guy when in reality, it's a little bit different than playing against Mississippi State and some of the teams that he played against. I think he's a good player. He's got speed. He's got athletic ability. I looked at him a little bit because doing the show down here, in the spring, we were, talking the draft. And so, I think they got a good one there. And I think he's a guy that they can kind of build with.
In general, with what you're seeing in the NFL right now, how difficult is it defending these offenses in the NFL, particularly from a pass defense standpoint?
Well, it's very difficult. In fact, I have a up close and personal. I spent 3 years at the University of Kansas, and then the 2 years at SC. We played a lot against this run and shoot stuff. That's what I call it. But it's really the spread. It's very difficult because in order to defend it, you have to have the same speed as they have. And kids today, there's so much of it on the high school and the college level. You're finding receivers a dime a dozen that can run. And when they spread them out in space, you've got to have guys on the defensive side that can tackle in space, number one. And, just it limits some of the no huddle stuff that's even coming in a little bit more. It limits what you can do defensively. You have to kind of, be a little bit vanilla. And if you're not quite as good as the guy you're playing against, you've got a problem. So I think the league going with the quarterbacks that can run a little bit, that's the thing of the future. And you have to know what you're doing to defend it. I can promise you that.
Okay, the Cowboys are taking on a Baltimore Ravens team. You talk about a running quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and the Cowboys have had issues. Well, they've had issues not only stopping the run, but stopping the pass on defense this year. What kind of when they go up against Baltimore, how does that challenge a defense going up against that guy?
Well, as a defensive backfield coach, that was the thing that, and I'm going back to when they weren't really running quarterbacks, but there were some guys that could scramble and run for first downs. And from a frustration standpoint, that's as frustrating as you can get. When your guys do a good job of disguising and getting where they need to go as a secondary, and they're doing a good job technique-wise, and they've got everybody covered up, and the guy takes off and runs for a first down, there's nothing more frustrating for a coach than to have that happen. In this day and age, there's a few of those guys, and of course, Baltimore has one that can probably get 50 or 60 yards on the ground, with some of the things that he does. And that puts the pressure on the defense because you think you're stopping a run, but in reality, you're really not when a quarterback runs for 60 yards on you and the running back runs for 60. That's 120. And now you're into the middle of the pack or late as far as stopping guys.
Okay, Coach Campo, you obviously were on the coaching staff when the Cowboys went to the Super Bowls in the 90s. Can you believe now 25 years have passed since the Cowboys last won a Super Bowl?
Yeah, and that's I don't think that anybody would ever think that when they think about the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm sure it's pretty darn frustrating for Jerry Jones, because that team that we had was a special group. And, that game, the 95 game, was really special to me because I was a coordinator and called the game. So, it's surprising. I think they've been close a couple of years to where, the Des Bryant catch, one catch might have made the difference in whether or not they had an opportunity. But, it's very difficult to win in that league. And everything has to go right. One of the things that people don't realize that, and I'm getting old now, so one of those three Super Bowl teams, I can't remember what year it was. I don't think it was 95, but one of them, we played against 8 backup quarterbacks. And, when you're in a situation, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. If you win, that's all that matters. And, I think that with the injury situations, you never know what your team is going to do. And I think that's obviously hurt the Cowboys over the years.
All right, that Super Bowl 30 in Phoenix that you talk about, here 25 years later, what's your lasting memory of that moment when Barry told Jerry, we did it.
Well, I love Barry Switzer. I want to make that clear right now. And, he took a little bit of guff around there, being from Oklahoma and being in Texas. And Barry was an outstanding football coach. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And one of them was he trusted the guys that were on the staff. And that was, him. I mean, he was a people person. I was excited for him. The thing I remember the most is, we struggled a little bit that year. And with Haley getting hurt, that made a big difference in our defensive side of the ball. So getting to the ball game, I felt we needed a little bit of a push. And so we studied Dick LeBeau and we studied Shermer at Green Bay, and we threw in some zone blitzes. They were running the 3-4, we were running the 4-3. So we had to mix it around a little bit, and we didn't use them until we got to the playoffs. And in that game, we had 2 zone pressures that they use, we used it against Dick LeBeau's team, and Larry Brown was just sitting out there. And that second interception he had to run it down to about the 10-yard line, that's what I remember the most, him winning the MVP. And, we did some different things, and he took advantage of it.
So everyone points a finger at Neil O'Donnell in that game. He was the GOAT of that game, and there was a reason he was throwing the football to Larry Brown.
Well, Leon Searcy, I don't know if you remember Leon, with great offensive tackle in the league, played for us at the University of Miami. He's on the primetime show that I'm on down here, and he played for the Steelers at the time. And he cusses Neil O'Donnell every day. But it was not only him, but with the zone blitzes, the receivers made mistakes as well. And that's what happens when it looks like man and they make a man break off and it's a zone, or vice versa.
Yeah, but they blame it on the quarterback.
Of course they do. And listen, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win. So he's either great or he's just another guy.
They blame it on the quarterback, and they blame it on the head coach too. What do you remember from 4th and 1 in Philadelphia that year? The next day, the cover of the New York Post, it was Dumb and Dumber, Barry and Jerry. And now you see coaches going for it on 4th and 1 from their own 29 all the time. Analytics
have come into the game in baseball and football and all kinds of things. I don't trust analytics necessarily, but they are, when a guy makes that kind of a decision, it's based on what they read as percentages in this day and age. And back in the day, we weren't too analytic. We just figured, what was going to give us the best chance of getting that first down. And they could have said dumb, and dumber, because I agreed with the call. You go behind your best lineman, Larry Allen, with the best running back in pro football. You got a pretty good percentage when you talk analytics of making that play, and it just didn't happen.
And by the way, I think it would have been punting into about a 30-mile-an-hour wind in Philadelphia that day, too.
Absolutely. And as a defensive coach, that was my concern, because we were kind of running out of gas on defense. So, I was all for the decision, and unfortunately, it didn't work in that particular case.
Okay, so how much do you feel for Mike McCarthy? He's getting criticism, of course, and I've been surprised at some of the times that he's going for it on 4th and 1. Of course, the fake punt last week from his own 24 on 4th and 10 against Washington. You being the head coach of this team in the past, and Dave, if you look at your Wikipedia page, on your Wikipedia page, they're talking about decisions that you made back 20 years ago. I mean, this stuff lives on with you, but it's part of present day football, isn't it?
Well, first of all, I saw Richie Witt's article where I was a yes man, and I didn't take 2 points, or I didn't go for 2 points when I should have. So we all make mistakes. The game is fast, and there's a lot of things going on, and a lot has to do with if you make an offensive decision that doesn't look exactly right, it may be because the defense is struggling, or vice versa. So the only one that I had a real concern about, I don't really have the concerns about the 4th down calls. That punt, I'm not sure I would have made that call. 4th and 10 on your own 30, I'm not sure I would have made that call. But Mike McCarthy's got a good record, and I think this has been an unusual year. The thing with Marcus Paul happening before that ball game, there was a lot of stress on guys in that program, and hopefully, he'll go forward and they'll get better as we go along here and go into next year.
Dave, take me back 20 years ago, that moment when Jerry Jones told you that you're the next head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys. What was that moment like for you?
Well, it was an exciting moment. Obviously, anybody that's worth a salt would like to say that they've gone as high as they can go in whatever profession they're in. And for me, coming from, a 5'6", 150-pound high school football player to 35 years later being the head coach of arguably the #1 athletic franchise in the world, that was an exciting thing for me. And having been in Dallas for, I guess it was 11 years prior to that pick, it was very exciting. And, obviously I'm still a Cowboy fan, and I still look back on it as, regardless of how it turned out, it was a tremendous opportunity. And I'm thankful to the Jones family to have the confidence in me to even do that.
And then I hate to bring it up, but that first game as Cowboys head coach against Philadelphia, the big move made in the offseason, Joey Galloway, he gets hurt in that game. And I went back and looked at the box score, and Troy Aikman, 0 for 5, sacked 4 times with a pick 6 in the first quarter before he got knocked out of the game.
Yeah, well, of course, that's the injury thing. And, unfortunately, we gave up 2 first-round picks for Galloway, and he didn't last very long. And Troy was at the end. And, unfortunately, I don't – Jerry would even tell you, I believe, that we never got a quarterback during the time I was there. And that was a very difficult situation to go through. That first game, I think part of it, and I'm not going to make excuses other than the fact that I think part of it that was in that we were in the heat quite a bit up in Wichita Falls. And I think Jerry rectified that later on by changing and going a little bit more out to California.
All right, Jimmy Johnson finally going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you, a guy who coached for Jimmy, not only with the Cowboys, but also in college at Miami?
Well deserved. He when you look at what that club did from 1989 just to 1992, he and Jerry working together, obviously, but Jimmy was a tremendous evaluator. And I really think he enjoyed putting the team together more than he actually enjoyed the coaching part of it. And he had guys that he trusted on the staff. I'm forever grateful to him for taking a chance with me. When he came to the Cowboys, I had only been with him for 2 years. The rest of the guys that he took with him had been there for a number of years. And I really didn't know if I was going to have an opportunity to go. And I'm forever grateful to him for that. But he's an outstanding leader and well-deserved to go into the Hall of Fame.
Who's the best player you ever coached?
The very best player I would have to say was Deion Sanders. And because, the guy was so dynamic. However, I'm not sure I coached him all that much. You can screw some guys up. And I let Deion kind of do his thing for the most part, other than just, our scheme or whatever we were doing. But the guy, with his ability, hey, if you threw over at him 4 times, there might be a couple of completions. The third one would be incomplete, but the fourth one was the problem. If he put his hands on it, there was probably about a 90% chance he was going to put the ball in the end zone. So, he talked people out of going over there. And when you can do that, you're a great one. And he certainly is that.
When you look at this Dallas defense right now, what do you think it is that they need more than anything right now?
Well, looking at the draft going forward, I would say that they need a little bit of everything. I think they need a little bit at all 3 levels, but I think the thing that gives them the most problem is that they don't have a dynamic run-stopping defensive tackle. And I think that's an area that they can improve that defense just on that alone. They've got some linebackers, with Van Der Esch and
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith, excuse me, yeah. That can run, which is good. I think they could use another corner or 2 because, and they don't have a safety, in my opinion, that you can, say is a big time guy. When we had Woodson was a tremendous thing for us because not only could he stop the run, but he could get everybody lined up. And I think sometimes new scheme and all that, I'm not sure that they're in the right place a lot of times.
Let me ask you about Woody. He's a Hall of Fame semifinalist, I think, for the 5th time in the last 6 years. What was it that made Woody so good?
Well, first of all, I love the guy. He's an unselfish football player. He was all about the team. His leadership was outstanding. He was a smart guy. One of the things that we looked for, especially early with Coach Johnson, was signing smart guys, and he was one. And we felt that he could improve because of he was smart. But the ability to run at his size was the thing that made him good. He was capable of supporting the run as a safety and going up to nickel and covering the slots one-on-one at 218 pounds. When I went out to look at him, he came out of the blocks at 4.35. I worked him out as a DB right away. He was a linebacker. And I said, hey, we got a chance to hit big on this guy if things go the way we hope they will. And Jimmy took him.
All right, 25 years since the Cowboys last went to the Super Bowl. How much is it just how much, obviously, let me rephrase this. Clearly, Jerry Jones has been motivated from day one to get this Cowboys team to the promised land, and doing it 3 times in the first 5 or 6 years that he owned the team. How much is it just bothering him that he hasn't been able to do it the last 25 years, and how long before the Cowboys can get there?
Well, first of all, I'm sure he's very frustrated. The guy is all about winning. Everything he's done in his business career has been a win. You look at buying the Cowboys. There were a bunch of people that told him don't buy the Cowboys when he was getting ready to buy them. And he's turned it into one of the highest rated financial teams in the world. So when he does things, he does them with the right frame of mind. But the frustration, he loves football. He, in a lot of ways, is a frustrated coach. He never really did much as far as the coaching part of it, but he is a frustrated coach, and I'm sure he believes he can do anything. And it's got to be really, he's got to be really struggling. And I think he knows he doesn't have that much time left. He's not into rebuilding. He's trying to do it right now. And I think they had some more hopes for this year. And my hope is he deserves to win one next year.
Dave Campo, I think it's been 51 years or so since you got out of Central Connecticut State and the long coaching career. What is it that you would like people to remember you at? What is Dave Campo's legacy as a coach?
Well, I'm going to say this, and I've said it from the day I started in this business. At the end of the day, I wanted people, and this might have kept me from being even as successful as I could have been, but I don't think so, but I don't know that. But I want people to look back and say, you know what, that Campo was a pretty good guy. He cared about the guys he coached. He coached with a lot of excitement and intensity, loved the game of football. And, fortunately, I was able to win a high school state championship, a national championship at the University of Miami, and 3 world championships with the Dallas Cowboys. So I think I've had a good career, and I love the game, and I love the fans, and I love the players.